Hey guys, I'm Marc Colbert, otherwise known as MBC, and you're in the garden with MBC. Today, it's a beautiful sunny day. We're fully in the summer weather pattern here in Portland, Oregon, and I'm going to take you through a variety of timers today. We're going to look at what a timer is, how it can help us in the garden, and how to not get totally so frustrated with this thing that you want to like throw it down and beat it because it's not doing what you want it to do. These things are supposed to be useful, but I admit they can be frustrating. Okay, first and most basic, I'm actually using my most basic timer, the phone, to record this. But if I just have like a hose on at my house, turn the sprinkler on, don't want to forget it, I might just set a timer on my phone, right? It just goes off and then I remembered, like almost as if I was doing some baking or something, like, oh yeah, I got to go take care of that thing. I'll admit, many a night, a summer night especially, I have put the sprinkler on outside, gone to watch some program with my wife, kind of gotten a little too comfortable on the couch, doze off, maybe sleep the whole night on the couch. That's happened before. And next morning go out and the sprinkler's still on. That's not a good feeling. Okay, that is not a good feeling. So even you have to be there for if you use your phone timer or whatever other kind of watch timer you might have, you still have to show up. So if for some reason you're not showing up or you're going somewhere, that's not going to work. Kind of the first next level beyond just setting a timer and you being there is a dial timer. Now, this one is supposed to be clicking, indicating, it's kind of like an egg timer, or another, again, like a cooking timer. It's supposed to be ticking. You turn it to whatever your desired amount is, using this arrow on the top. You kind of turn the face to the number of minutes you want, and it clicks away. Now, the fact that this one is not clicking away, it tells you something. It tells you that it's broken. And these are handy. Again, like you can go away, just set it, forget it. You twist, I want 60 minutes, boom, in 60 minutes it's gonna turn around and shut off. But I have a little graveyard full of these. They tend to break easily and then useless. I've kept some around thinking I'm going to fix them and interchange parts. Somehow I never seem to get to that, so I better just face the fact and get rid of them. I'm not really buying these anymore. They don't work for me, but it will keep you from running your water all night, at least for a little while, and it probably will last a season. Okay. These are like, 10 to 15 bucks, I think. That's going to be the entry-level model. The next model is kind of the one-station timer. Let me back up and say something else too. I have some auxiliary gear. If I'm going to put this onto a spigot, it's going to screw on right onto the garden hose like this, and then my hose is going to come out from here. If I pull the hose for any reason, it's going to put a lot of stress right here where this meets the metal faucet, the hose bib. So what I like to do is buy one of these little extra flexi hose pieces. I put this on and then the timer winds up going onto here, and it just provides a degree of flexibility between the hose bib and my hose, because you're always going to be manipulating your hose, yanking it this way and that, especially if you're moving a sprinkler around to get it set up. If you have to do any kind of moving at all, you'll want this additional level of flexibility. They also sell, this is a little bit longer version of the same kind of thing. Can be useful if you have to make, a bend in the line and it's your timer's kind of headed downward and you need to somehow round it out. You can use a flexible piece of hose, or again, like these little shorties. These are $4 or $5. Great investment to have up in front. The other thing you want to invest in, any kind of timer, will get jammed up if a bunch of crud gets into it. Sometimes they come with these little filters, these little screen filters. This is a little plastic one. Whoop, let's take it right there. You can see how it's got a little mesh built into it with a rubber washer. You can also just get a box of those as replacements. They do tend to get really gunked up, but beginning of the season, you're probably going to want to change these out, put some new ones on, make sure your rubber washers are good, connections are good, you won't have leaks and all that kind of thing. That's just a general irrigation pointer, not really about timers, but I do recommend any timer be attached to the hose bib with some kind of flexible hose to minimize shock on the plastic. Okay, doesn't get a very high rating. Next is this battery operated one, battery pack. These need to come out for the winter, by the way. Don't leave these in. Take your batteries out. Fresh batteries in the spring. Okay, this is a single station timer, right? It's only going to do one area. If you wanted to do another area, you're going to have to move the sprinkler. What can we do with this? Well, first of all, you can see there's a whole bunch of different words around here, and there's a little triangle pointing right now to off. There is a triangle sign here, and that will make the triangle rotate around. See that? When I press the button, it goes around to the various things. Let's see what it's going to do. Okay, set clock, right? If we need to set the clock, and also the date, and you accomplish that by pushing these plus and minus buttons. Let's look at the water day. That means how many days. Look, I can make that go to every other day, every third day, every fourth day, fifth, etc., etc. So I could do once a week, I could do 3 times a week, I could do every day. I usually set mine for every day, but it's a matter of personal preference and what you're watering. Then, okay, here's where it gets a little complicated. We've got a start time that's showing 5 p.m., but then you can see these cycles, cycle A, B, C, and D. In other words, I can make this thing go off 4 times a day. What's the advantage to that? That often shorter, more frequent watering is better than one long water. And here's the thought on that. If the soil dries out at all, especially, in the hot summer, if the surface dries out, one watering, you may lose some water. This is not as much of an issue if you're doing it regularly, but if you're like on a week timer, once a week, your top layer of soil may dry out and a certain amount of water may run off. Depends what you're doing, but especially with containers, if you're sprinkling containers or something, the first bit of water may be shed, and it may take repeated waterings for that to really percolate through. So sometimes you want short periods more frequently than one long period. Matter of preference. But now, so if we touch the triangle, we're going to go out of that start water, and we can see that cycle A is set for 5. So down here there's a cycle button, and if we press that, we can make it go around the different cycles. Now, if you just wanted to go once a day, you can zero out the other cycles, just set them to their base. Let's see if we can get it to the 0 time. Okay. Oh, the other annoying thing about timers is they sort of advance minute by minute, and then you have to keep pressure on, then it really speeds around. Let's see what happens when we get to midnight, though. I'm watching these numbers go backwards on my screen. Because I think there'll be oh, there we go. Okay, so we can see, that's what 0 looks like. So when you get back to midnight, or let's see, yeah, it starts just before midnight. You get the straight line. That means nothing going on. Okay, so that's how you deal with these cycles. You can have it go up to 4 times a day. If you only want it 1 time a day, you zero out the other cycles. We use the cycle button to move around between A, B, C, and D. Got that? Okay, let's touch our magic triangle again. How long? This is going to tell this thing how long to water each cycle. So if you're only doing it once a week, you might be doing something like 2 hours, 120 minutes, or 3 hours, 180 minutes. But if you're doing it 4 times a day, you might just be doing 5 to 10 minutes. This would be especially appropriate too, like if you just seeded something and you want that top soil to stay nice and moist, you might set it for 10 minutes 4 times a day or something. That'd be another application where you'd use multiple shorter bursts. Okay, here's the key. In order to get this thing to work, once you've got it all set, it must be on auto, okay? Don't leave it on any of the programmed instructions, or, obviously there's an off, you go around the cycle, but you got to get to auto, the green, in order for it to go. Now, let's say you're in off here, but you just want to run your hose as is. You don't want to take off your timer. there is a manual button. And when you press the manual button, you can see I've already got it set for 180 minutes, and it says manual right there. And then when you press OK, let's see if we can hear this valve go. Yeah, it just made a teeny little noise. But now you can see there's a water flow icon there that tells us water is indeed flowing. And then when you want to press off, you want to shut that off, you just press it off. So that feature can essentially work like this. And I just heard the valve close in there. There's a slight delay, so don't worry. Once you press off, don't get all upset with it and start beating it with a hammer if it doesn't go off right away. There's a slight delay. Anyway, this is really useful. It's about, $30 or $40, but man, once you get one of these, you have a lot of power. Again, provided you take the batteries out, I found that this is a very multi-year kind of thing. Last but not least, let's look at a little bit bigger model, where we start to get into what's called a manifold, a many branching faucet or hose setup here. And here's another piece of advice. Whenever I set up a sprinkler to go off at a later time, especially if I'm not going to be around, I always run it through one manual cycle to make sure, first of all, whatever the connection is actually on. Because believe it or not, no matter how well you've set your timer, if your hose bib is off, the timer will open. But the fact that it's open doesn't mean water will pass through it, because maybe you didn't open up the water. I've done that before. I speak from experience. So anyway, you want to make sure you open up the water and test it. I always test it with the manual before I leave it to go on its own. Especially important if you're going away for a few days, going away on vacation. You also want to make sure where your sprinkler is going to spray will cover everything you need it to. Maybe a single timer might not be enough. You may need one of these with a multi-valve setup. Now let's just go through this one briefly. In terms of the actual timer programming, we're basically the same. We have an off, we have an auto, we have all the set things. There's a manual, right? I can enter this manual, and this one doesn't have an OK button. I just press the enter again. I'll press manual. Let's see, what could we get it on the manual? It might have to be on auto, this one. Let's see if we did it to manual. There we go. It asks me now, because I've got 4 stations, 4 possibilities. Let's see what they're calling this. Yeah, I've got 4 stations, so now I have to indicate, let's say I have just station 1, okay. Then I'm gonna go to my plus. I wanna run it just for a test of 3 minutes. Okay, then I say enter, and we can see that the valve is now open. I just heard it click, actually. The water's gonna rush through. I can test to make sure it's gonna work. If I'm done with my test and I'm satisfied, I can press the manual again. That will turn it off. Hear the click, let's see. No, did it do it? Oh, on this one, I have to actually physically shut it off. There's the click, off. See, each one of these is a little different. So therein becomes some of the trouble. All right, the trick with this one is, see, when you have, these are solenoid valves, okay? They operate by a wire to open and close. This one's got it built in. So this one you can have up to 4 stations. Again, you must ensure that water is flowing to here, and then that each of these are open. See, I can close these too. So when I don't want to bother with changing all my programs, I just close these if I just want to operate one. The valve might open because the program is running, but if there's no water here, there'll be no water flowing. But conversely, these need to be open in order for the water to flow. We have wires, numbered wires that lead to these valves. So if I'm programming for station 1, this one, what I think is station 1, better be connected to the number 1 here. If not, I'm going to be programming for a different station. So, obviously a different level of complexity, but now with this one, I can be making it do 4 different things at once. So I can have 4 different hoses going to 4 different sets of drip lines or sprinklers and making them operate on 4 different schedules. This one's obviously more costly, but eminently more useful if you have a multi-station. And I've seen people put these manifolds that then lead to other manifolds that have a whole host of different kinds of timers based on all the needs of the crops that they have. Anyway, timers are a wonderful tool. They let you get away during the summer. They also just keep the regularity of water. Even when I'm around, I often have them running various sprinklers and drip lines just because I don't have to worry about things, or I can supplementally water maybe some corners where the sprinkler doesn't hit quite as well. Just takes some of the load off of me and provides that regularity. But like anything else, they're fallible. They can break down. You should put fresh batteries in them. You should always verify using the manual programming to make sure you're getting what you think you're going to get. And, you know, I say if you stick with these, you take care of them. You put these flexible hose connectors when you set them up on your hose bib. I've had these both, well, this one's a new one from last year, but I've had this for many, many years. So they will last quite a while. They're very reliable and just a big relief for you as a gardener, providing that kind of consistency when you're there and that consistency when you're gone, which allows you to take a little break during the summer, which we all want and need, right, from time to time, right? Go away to the coast, do something fun, go to the mountains, whatever you're going to do. You don't have to be worried about your garden. This has got you covered, provided you understand it, play around with it, test it, make sure it's doing what you want, and then you're good to go. Then you can trust it. So I hope you can find a way to work timers in. I don't recommend this one unless you're just getting started, because like I said, I've got a graveyard. But get yourself one of these, and after you learn it, you'll be really happy with the result. Hey, wishing you great gardening. I'll see you again next month in the garden with MBC. Take care.